The night hung heavy, shrouded in a darkness so complete it felt like a living entity. I couldn't resist the allure of the moonless night and the eerie silence it brought to the world. So, I found myself wandering through the city park, where the trees whispered secrets and the night held its breath. The park, usually a sanctuary of serenity during the day, transformed into a realm of haunting beauty under the cloak of night. Moonlight filtered through the dense canopy, casting ethereal shadows that danced with each rustling leaf. It was a siren call that drew me deeper into the heart of the park. The air was cool and crisp, carrying with it the faint scent of damp earth. My footsteps echoed softly on the winding paths, the sound mingling with the symphony of nocturnal creatures. I relished the solitude, savoring the sensation of being alone in a world where secrets lurked in every shadow. As I ventured further into the park, I stumbled upon an old, weather-worn gazebo nestled among the trees. It stood there like a forgotten relic of a bygone era, its wooden beams groaning in protest as if weary from the weight of time. I was drawn to it, the structure's melancholic charm casting an irresistible spell. I ascended the creaking steps and took a seat on a dilapidated bench, gazing out into the darkness. The moon, hidden behind a blanket of heavy clouds, provided only sporadic glimpses of its pale glow. The world beyond the gazebo seemed to dissolve into a sea of ink. As I sat there, lost in my thoughts, I became aware of a peculiar sound, a faint, almost musical melody that hung in the air like a melancholic sigh. It was a haunting tune, one that tugged at the edges of memory, but I couldn't quite place it. The melody seemed to emanate from the depths of the park, drawing me deeper into the shadows. Driven by curiosity, I followed the ghostly music through the labyrinthine paths. Each note that reached my ears sent shivers down my spine, and I felt an inexplicable urgency to uncover the source of this eerie serenade. The melody led me to a secluded glade, bathed in the faint glow of a hidden source of light. There, beneath a gnarled oak tree, stood a solitary figure, a man dressed in tattered clothes that seemed to blend seamlessly with the night. He cradled an old violin in his hands, its strings producing the haunting melody that had beckoned me. The man's face was obscured by shadows, and his eyes, deep and hollow, held a distant sadness. He continued to play the mournful tune, his fingers moving across the strings with a grace that belied his appearance. I approached cautiously, drawn to the music but wary of the stranger. "That's a beautiful melody," I ventured, my voice barely more than a whisper. The man's playing faltered for a moment, and he turned his head toward me, revealing eyes that seemed to pierce the very depths of my soul. "It is a lament," he replied, his voice a mournful whisper, "a requiem for those lost to the night." I felt a chill run down my spine, and I took a step back, suddenly aware of the oppressive silence that had settled over the glade. The nocturnal creatures had fallen silent, as if in reverence to the strange musician and his haunting melody. With a sense of unease, I turned to leave, my footsteps echoing loudly in the stillness. But as I retraced my steps, I couldn't escape the feeling that the shadows themselves were watching me, that they held secrets too ancient and too dark to fathom. As I reached the gazebo, the haunting melody continued to follow me, growing louder and more insistent with each step. I couldn't shake the feeling that it was pulling me back, drawing me inexorably toward the glade and the enigmatic musician. I reached the gazebo and paused, torn between the desire to escape and the eerie compulsion to return to the glade. The melody enveloped me, drowning out all other thoughts, and I found myself moving toward the source of the music as if in a trance. When I reached the glade, the man had ceased playing, and he stood before me, his eyes locked onto mine. "You have heard the lament," he whispered, his voice filled with sorrow. "You are now bound to the night, to the shadows that hunger for your soul." My heart raced as I realized the truth. I had become entangled in a sinister web woven by the darkness itself. The man's violin had ensnared me, and now there was no escape. With a mournful sigh, the man raised his violin once more, and the haunting melody resumed. As the music filled the air, I felt myself being consumed by the shadows, my very essence fading into the night. In that moment, I understood the true nature of the park, of the darkness that lurked within its depths. It was a realm of ancient, malevolent forces, where the line between reality and nightmare blurred, and where those who wandered into its grasp were destined to be eclipsed by shadows for all eternity.